Let's take a look at my passive skill tree. Starting as a duelist, I went for the physical damage and life. I went for the attack speed, then I went for more attack speed here. I went for armor, evasion and life note here. Then I went for Artific Gladiator, Bravery, Master Arena. I went for Destroyer. I went for a Yule Socket here, and I'm using Warlord's Reach, which is easy to get because you can get it through a quest reward. I'm using Golem's Blood. Then I went down here to take Wrecking Bell and Executioner. I have Cloak and Chain. And this note here, Iron Reflexes, are optional. If you have a lot of evasion and if you want more armor, you can take this note here. It is optional, it's a good one, but if you don't have a lot of evasion on your armor and gear, you don't need this one, but you can take it. Then I have Vitality Void. Side note here, this life and mana leech note here is the only mana leech I need to sustain my Cyclone, but if you're having problem sustaining your mana, you can take both this mana leech note here and Spirit Void. That will sustain your mana. And then when you get even higher damage, you can just drop both Spirit Void and Mana Leech here. Moving on, I went for Blade of Carning. I have a Bloodletting, so I'm doing extra damage when I'm cursing enemies to bleed, and it always gives me some good bleed chance here. I have Hard Knocks to give me some extra intelligence. I have Bloodless. Then I went this way up here. I went for Warrior's Blood. And later in the game I took this life and armor notes here. I went for Heart of the Warrior, Born to Fight. I have Butchery. I have Barbarism. And then I went for Resolute Unique, so I can't crit, but I can't miss either. Enemies can't evade my attacks. I have Yule Socket here. I have increased maximum life, increased melee damage, and some strength and intelligence. I have Razor's Edge. And I have Blade Master. I also have Juggernaut and this other life note here. After that I just went this way up here. I took another Yule Socket here. Again, you want some physical damage, damage with 200 weapons, you name it. And some life if you can. I have Berserking for even more attack speed. Then I have the whole big life wheel here and Path of the Warrior. For my Ascendancy, I went for the Slayer, and the first thing I took was Endless Hunger, and after that I took Brutal Favor, and after that I took Bane of Legends and Hedgeman. And for the bandits, I helped Oak to get the physical damage and the life regeneration and the physical damage reduction. So let's take a look at my gear now. So let's start by talking about my weapon. I'm currently using Starforge, which are the best weapon for this build. It have a ton of damage, it gives you life, it gives you increased AoE, and your physical damage can shock. But you deal no elemental damage. So you can't use any elemental damage. You can't use lightning damage, fire damage, or cold damage in this build. And these weapons are quite expensive as well, and if you can't afford a Starforge, you can go for a rare sword instead, which you're gonna try to get as high physical damage and attack speed as you can. For my helmet, just using a defensive helmet, and you want life and resistance and as good armor as you can get. For your rings and amulet, you want life and resistance. And if you can, try to get some flat physical damage as well. For my armor, I'm using a Calm's Heart, which are the best armor for this build. If you can't afford a Calm's Heart, you can go for a rare armor instead, which you're going to try to get as high armor and life and the resistance you need. You can also go for a Belly of the Beast, and you can see it on screen right now. It gives you a lot of life. For my gloves, I'm just using spiked gloves, but you can just use what pair of gloves you want, and you're going to try to get as high life and the resistance you need. And if you can, some attack speed and some armor as well. For my boots, I'm just using these boots here. And you want at least 25% increased movement speed, because movement speed are very important when using Cyclone. And then you want as high life as you can get and resistance you need. For my belt, I'm just using this highly defensive belt here. You want as good life as you can get and resistance you need, and if you can, some armor. The best belt you could use for this build would be to use the Wretch. You can see it on screen right now, but that is a very expensive belt. It's so expensive, not even I can afford it in the league right now. but that would be the best possible you can use. You will lose life when you're using it. You don't give in as much life as this belt do, but you will give a ton of extra damage. And for my flask, I'm just using one bubbling flask, one anti-freeze flask. I'm using Rumi's Concussion, not a must-have, but it's a pretty nice flask. I'm using a Quicksilver flask, and you can use 2 Quicksilver flasks because movement speed are really important, as I said before, with Cyclone. So using a Quicksilver flask is a really good idea. And you can use 2. And I'm actually using a Basalt flask as well. And if you have any questions about my gear, feel free to ask me in the comments. So let's take a look at my skill again. So let's start by talking about my main damage skill, which is Cyclone. Because we're using Starforge, and that means I can't do any elemental damage, so all of the support guns are purely for physical damage. So I'm using faster attacks, ruthlessness, maim, brutality, and melee physical damage. If you only have a firing setup, let's take away faster attacks and use Cyclone together with ruthlessness, maim, brutality, and melee physical damage. I have one movement skill setup, which is Leap Slam, together with Fortify, Blood Magic, and faster attacks. I'm using 2 buffs. I'm buffing myself with Astral Protector, so I just put it down in a boss fight to give me some extra attack speed. I'm using a Blood Witch, which I pretty much use all the time, and give me some French charges, increased attack speed, increased leech. And they are both supported by increased duration. I'm also using 1 Vengeance for some extra damage here and there. I'm using 1 Curse, which is vulnerability, together with Blasphemy. So I will automatically curse enemies which are near me. And then I'm using, currently I'm using Purity of Elements because I wanted some more resistance. But if you have maxed out your resistance on your gear, you don't need Purity of Elements, then I highly recommend using Arctic Armor instead. If you have any questions about my support game, feel free to ask me in the comments. So let's see this character in action, and I thank you for watching. And before we go, I went for the Soul of Solaris in the Pantheon, and then I went for Soul or whatever that's called, I can't pronounce it, but I went for that. But you can pretty much take whatever you want. By the way, let's see this character in action, and thank you for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me in the comments.